You know what nobody warns you about? The player gets endless chances. The guy who can't commit gets pursued for years. The one who treats her like an option somehow becomes her obsession. But you, the guy who answered every text, who remembered the small details, who planned the dates, who stayed when things got hard, who never made her guess where she stood, you're the one staring at your phone wondering when everything changed. And that confusion eats you alive. Because you can trace back every month of the relationship and you won't find the moment you screwed up. There's no cheating to point to. No lie that broke trust. No moment you chose someone else. You were faithful. You were thoughtful. You were everything the internet said women actually want. You did relationship advice on expert mode and somehow still ended up here, feeling her slip away. She used to light up when your name appeared on her screen. Now it takes hours to get a reply. She used to tell you everything about her day. Now you get summaries. She used to make plans weeks in advance with you. Now she's suddenly busy every weekend. And when you bring it up, she hits you with the most frustrating response in dating. Nothing's wrong. She's just tired. She's just stressed. She's just going through something. Everything's fine. Except it's not fine. You both know it. You can feel the weight of something shifting. But there's no argument to resolve. No specific issue to fix. Just this slow fade that nobody prepared you for. The kind where she's physically still there but emotionally already halfway out the door. And you're left trying to solve a problem that won't announce itself. Here's what destroys good men in this situation. You start rewinding the entire relationship like a crime scene investigation. Was it something you said 3 weeks ago? Should you have been more spontaneous? Were you too available? Not romantic enough? You analyze every interaction looking for the fatal mistake. And you find nothing. Because there wasn't one. That's the mind bend. You didn't become a worse boyfriend. You didn't fail some secret test. You didn't transform into a different person. You stayed exactly who you've always been. Consistent. Reliable. Present. Safe. And somehow that became the problem. Not because those qualities are bad, but because they became the only qualities. You became predictable in a game where predictability is poison. The gut punch? While you're spiraling trying to figure out what you did wrong, she can't even articulate what changed. She just knows the feeling isn't there anymore. That spark, that pull, that can't wait to see him energy. It evaporated. Not because you hurt her. Not because you failed her. But because you became something far more dangerous than a bad boyfriend. You became a boring one. And she doesn't even realize that's what happened. Let's get into the psychology that nobody wants to admit. Relationships don't end because someone messed up catastrophically. They end because the emotional temperature dropped to room level and just stayed there. No highs. No lows. Just this beige existence that technically qualifies as a relationship but feels nothing like one. A therapist told me about a case that perfectly captures this. Couple had been together 8 years. Good jobs. Nice apartment. Shared friend group. 0 major problems. The kind of relationship everyone from the outside calls goals. But in one session, the woman broke down and said something that changed how I see attraction forever. She said, "I care about him deeply. He's kind and loyal and I respect him completely. But when I picture growing old together, I feel nothing. Not excitement. Not comfort. Just emptiness. And I don't know if love is supposed to feel this hollow." That right there is the real relationship killer. Not anger. Not resentment. Not betrayal. Emotional numbness. The feeling of nothing. Because you can work through anger. You can heal from betrayal. But how do you fix nothing? How do you reignite something when there's not even a spark left to fan? Here's the part that blows men's minds. Her brain didn't choose this. This isn't a conscious decision she made one morning. This is neuroscience doing what it's wired to do. The human brain is designed to respond to novelty, to uncertainty, to the chemical rush of not knowing what happens next. That's what creates the feeling we call attraction. Dopamine floods the system when there's anticipation, when there's something to wonder about, something to chase, something still unknown. But you became known, fully, completely. She knows how you'll respond before you speak. She knows what you'll say before you text. She knows your routine, your habits, your reactions, your patterns. You're no longer a mystery to solve. You're a book she's memorized. And the brain doesn't stay excited about books it's already read 17 times. You became safe. And I need you to understand something crucial here. Safe is good for survival. Safe is great for building a stable life. But safe doesn't make her heart race. Safe doesn't create butterflies. Safe doesn't generate that magnetic pull that made her cancel plans just to see you. Safe creates comfort. And comfort without passion is just friendship with occasional physical contact. This happens slowly. So slowly you don't see it forming. Week by week the conversations get a little more surface level. The silences get a little longer. The excitement fades into routine. And one day you're sitting across from each other at dinner and you realize you're both just going through motions. Playing roles in a relationship that lost its pulse months ago and neither of you noticed until it was already gone. Here's where good men accidentally dig their own grave. You notice something's off. She's distant. Less enthusiastic. The energy's different. And every instinct in your body tells you to fix it by showing her how much you care. So you ramp everything up. More sweet texts throughout the day. More surprise gestures. More asking how she's feeling. More availability. More emotional labor. You think if she just sees how committed you are, she'll snap out of whatever this is. But watch what actually happens. The more you give, the faster she pulls away. Every extra text gets a slower response. Every thoughtful gesture gets a weaker reaction. Every attempt to reconnect pushes her further into her own space. And you're standing there confused because you're doing exactly what every romantic movie said you should do. You're fighting for her. Except she's not fighting back. She's just tired. Here's the brutal reality. You're not increasing attraction. You're broadcasting scarcity. You're showing her that your entire emotional state depends on her validation. That you'll bend yourself into whatever shape keeps her around. And the human brain is wired in a twisted way. It devalues what comes too easily. It stops wanting what's always available. It loses interest in what it completely controls. Think about it. When you chase someone who's pulling away, what message does that send? It tells them they're the prize and you're the contestant. That they're the selector and you're auditioning. That they hold all the power and you're just hoping they use it kindly. That dynamic kills attraction faster than any argument ever could. Because now you're not her equal. You're her fan. And nobody dates their fan long term. The men who keep women interested don't give more when she pulls back. They give space. They don't panic when her energy shifts. They don't flood her phone trying to recreate connection artificially. They continue living their life at the same intensity whether she's close or distant. They have hobbies she's not involved in. Friends she doesn't know. Goals that exist independent of the relationship. A whole identity that doesn't crumble if she needs distance. That's not playing games. That's having self-respect. That's understanding you can't negotiate desire. You can't logic someone into feeling attracted. You can't earn your way back into her heart by being more available. Attraction responds to one thing: value. And value isn't demonstrated by how much of yourself you sacrifice. It's demonstrated by how much of yourself you maintain. When you make her your entire universe, you stop being a planet worth orbiting. You become a moon. And she didn't fall for a moon. She fell for someone with gravitational pull of their own. Someone whose world was big enough and compelling enough that she wanted to be part of it. Not someone whose world became nothing but her. Let's be painfully honest about something most men don't want to hear. Being loyal doesn't guarantee she stays attracted. Being consistent doesn't keep the spark alive. Being dependable doesn't make her want you more. You can check every box on the good boyfriend list and still lose her interest. Not because you failed as a partner, but because you vanished as a man. Think back to when you first met her. You had your own thing going. Your own goals. Your own social life. Your own passions that had nothing to do with impressing her. You weren't trying to be perfect. You were just being you. Unapologetically. And that version had edges. Had unpredictability. Had a life she wanted access to but didn't control. That's what hooked her. That's what made her choose you over everyone else sliding into her messages. But somewhere between the first date and the 100th night together, you shifted. You started optimizing yourself for her comfort. Rearranging your schedule around hers. Dropping hobbies because they took time away from her. Saying yes to everything because you didn't want conflict. You smoothed out every edge until you became this perfectly agreeable person with no friction. And friction is what creates heat. Without it, everything just goes cold. The brain craves complexity. It stays engaged with people who have layers, who surprise you, who can't be fully downloaded and understood in 6 months. The men who keep women fascinated long-term aren't running some manipulation playbook. They're just deep. They have internal worlds that don't revolve around relationship status. They read. They build. They create. They challenge themselves in ways that have nothing to do with romance. And that depth keeps her curious. Here's what actually maintains attraction. Contrast. The ability to be affectionate without being clingy. Attentive without being obsessive. Caring without losing your backbone. Strong enough to lead but secure enough to listen. You need range. If you're the same emotional temperature every single day, she gets numb to it. But when you can be playful one moment and serious the next, warm but with boundaries, present but not suffocating, that creates the variability her brain interprets as interesting. Stop trying to be the perfect boyfriend and start being a complete person who happens to be in a relationship. Have a mission that scares you. Pursue goals she doesn't fully understand. Maintain friendships where she's not the topic of conversation. Build something that would continue existing even if she left tomorrow. Not as backup plan. As proof you're a man with purpose beyond her validation. That's what keeps her invested. Not your availability. Your substance. Not how much you give. How much you've kept. Not how hard you try. How little you need to. If this completely shifted how you see relationships, subscribe right now for more psychology that actually makes sense. Comment below. What kills long-term attraction faster, losing yourself or losing the mystery? Let's talk about it.